Hey, how's it going? I want to walk you through the prompt for the third project because it's a little bit challenging. And I don't mean that the third project itself is challenging, which I think it is, but I think what I'm actually asking you to do is challenging because of the amount of options that I'm giving you. So I want to start with just an overview. The third project asks that you think about communication in popular culture. And at this point, that means two things. That means that we think about kind of the propagandistic tendencies that exist in terms of how we communicate in this culture. But it also means that we consider the mediums of communication that we use in order to communicate. And so I want you to think about all of this stuff and I want you to apply it to specific companies, institutions, organizations with which you're familiar. So if we look at the first option I give you, uh, right here, number one, I'm really just asking you to take all of this stuff and to apply it to a company, institution, organization, or even public individual of your choice. And so let's kind of bring this down with an example. Let's imagine that you wanted to do British Petroleum. Well, you could easily analyze British Petroleum, and you could take a look at British Petroleum's website and their press releases and some of their advertisements, and you could analyze all of these things in order to take apart some of the propaganda that they use, right? Similarly, you could look at the very sorts of mediums that they use to communicate. So, for example, they use websites. They use these very visual mediums which allow them to reframe certain things in very specific ways. So there's the sort of project you could do. I'm going to apply concepts of propaganda, and I'm going to apply concepts of mediums, and I'm going to analyze British Petroleum. And you could do that with any number of companies or institutes. It could be British Petroleum. You could be looking at ISIS. You could even be looking at Miley Cyrus's social media accounts. Right? The choice is yours. If you're not interested in just doing 5 pages of analysis and the consequences of that analysis, then maybe you want to take a look at number 2. Number 2 here kind of reframes this, and it says you don't just have to analyze these companies, but at some point you guys are actually going to go out and work for companies. And so whether fortunately or unfortunately, you may have to become the producer, right, of such forms of communication. So in this case, half the project is devoted to you producing texts, persuasive texts, that potentially use some of these propagandistic modalities or that use these certain mediums. And so you can have a little bit of fun with that. You can be creative. And then, of course, I'm going to ask that you couple that with an analysis of the very moves that you employed in order to persuade the audience. So a little bit different. The third assignment here is similar to the second, except I ask that you do the same thing and you create a company that you see would be very viable within the world of Fahrenheit 451. So what company could exist in Fahrenheit 451, and how would that company have to persuade its public? What sorts of moves would it use? In my mind, I'm thinking of a car company where all of the cars would have to go really, really fast because, hey, in the novel, all the cars go really, really fast, right? So that one allows for more games, and it also allows for more connections to what's actually happening in the novel. The final point I want to make right now is that along with this kind of creative angle that you're going to take with the project, you also have the choice of what you decide to actually create. So you could create for me just a hard copy Word document that's just doing 5 pages of analysis. You could also create a Word document that has 2 pages of billboards and advertisements that you've made, and then you've got 3 pages of analysis. Or you could get rid of that Word document altogether, and you could decide that you want to do everything in the multimodal environment, and you want to create a website, or you want to create a blog where you're bringing in some of the advertisements that you've made, and then you're analyzing them. Or you're writing an analytical paper, except instead of bringing in direct quotes, you're literally embedding a video or embedding an image. So you've got a lot of options here. And at this point in the process, I'm just asking for you guys to brainstorm potential ideas. So in blog entry number 12, you'll give me some of those brainstorms, and then we'll get into working through those brainstorms as we move into the into the next week. Hope this helps.